All right, we're recording, and this is Steve from PNP News, and we got Bama Camera here, and we're gonna call it interview, but it's really just it's partially interview and partially just letting him have some things he wants to talk about, maybe, and partially for y'all to get to know him a little bit better, and we're going to get some information out with the questions, and you'll get to know who he is a little bit better. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Bama, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yourself?
Pretty good. We finally got some rain here, so much better. And if you know this part of the country, then we don't get a lot of rain this time of year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's hot and dry most of this time of year. And we're in the hottest month right now, so.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to jump in here now. I got a bunch of questions here that I've got ready to go, and you've already looked at them, so you know what to expect. But as we go, we're going to play this by ear too. I mean, I may get another question and throw it at you, and if something comes up, and you want to throw something in there, you know, that you feel it needs to be said, you know, go right ahead. So,
all right,
that's something to organize me and keep me moving.
Gotcha.
Just go off in all kinds of directions because I know how it is when we start talking.
Yep.
So I'm just going to start with the first one then.
All right.
And this is the one that you know why I'm just going to ask this one, and you're not going to know why. You know, do you have another job besides auditing?
Of course. And I don't live in Mama's basement. Okay. Yes, and I am very passionate about that job as well. I don't want to go too much into it, but I will say this. It's a management position, and I am very passionate about it. I love the people I work with, but it can be very stressful at times, and I kind of thrive in chaos. I actually kind of like that. I did 23 years in the Army. Yeah. If that says anything, if I'm crazy enough to do that job for 23 years, then pretty much nothing compares. So I don't want to go too much into the job itself. I'll just say it's management. Well,
a job that throws different things at you is better than the boring, mundane stuff over and over and over again.
Definitely not boring. I'll put it there.
And we've discussed your work many times, so I understand.
Yeah.
And, well, I think everybody will understand why we don't go too in depth on that part, because we have the police. Some of the police departments have a tendency to like to sabotage people's jobs.
Right.
They will show up on their job and annoy their bosses and related people, and to the point that they end up getting fired. We've seen that happen with David and a couple others.
Yes, South Side down there.
Yeah, South Side. I got to interview him too, because I'm not going to get that. I'm not going on a side tangent, but I'm going to interview him too.
Gotcha.
If I can get him to where we can do it, I may have to go catch him personally, because I don't think he's got a good enough internet connection where he lives to do it live like this. Well, we're not live to who's going to be watching it, but me and you were doing this live. All right, so just going to move on to number 2. If you weren't auditing, what would you be doing instead?
I would definitely be involved in journalism to some extent. And I think I've mentioned this before. We've kind of talked about it. Like I said, what I'd really like to do is journalism. But what happens is before I can get – well, this is still journalism, but I would like to go more in depth in some other stories. For instance, just getting B-roll and maybe doing, when something comes up, maybe doing some type of expose or something on a department or an entity. But before I can get to that point, my rights are violated, and I, stop filming or, put your hand in front of my camera, and I can't do that. So definitely I would be doing something in journalism.
So you look at it more like doing like you see a reporter on TV, or are you looking at doing a video and an article kind of combination thing?
Like that, yes. Basically just something with the news. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it seems that you don't have that Fox or CNN tag on, or your local news station. I'm not saying that's everywhere. I'm just saying from my experience and videos, they come out daily. So putting it out there, and I'm sure that's to the viewers of this channel and others, I'm probably preaching to the choir, or I'm telling something to the choir, but yeah, that's just how it is. That's why we're trying to change that.
Yeah. Well, you and I have some things going here that in the background that may help you on that way, but we won't go into that in too depth.
Yeah.
Right now. Hopefully soon enough people will know.
Yeah.
We'll leave that one out there as a cliffhanger for them to go, what is it? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's the big one. What got you started doing this?
Well, it was a culmination of things. Ultimately, what got me to do it is like what happens with a lot of us. We run across YouTube videos. We see the amount of videos where rights are violated. And we're scratching our head wondering, I wonder if this happens where I live, you know, or is my area like this? Is my area safe? Are people allowed to do it in my area, carry cameras and not be harassed or violated in some sense? And so that's ultimately what really led to it, but it's really a culmination of things. That was just the one that kind of set it off after watching videos. What gave me the I guess you could say courage or the intestinal fortitude to go through with it after seeing others do it. But it's a culmination, and it kind of started in my youth.
I was going to ask you that. But go ahead.
Right. In my youth, I remember, I guess I'm guilty being young, out at night, and that's probable cause to search my vehicle for some reason, just because I'm young and it's probable cause. I remember asking what was the probable cause. They didn't give me an answer. It's just, we just have probable cause. It's late at night. That was probable cause. So, back then I didn't know. So, I mean, when I was younger, probably had my vehicle searched probably a conservative number would be 7 times. That's being conservative. I think it was more than that. So that's
what we did. We have an extra key, hidden on our car, and then we got out because the police told us to get out. We locked the door and leave the key in.
There you go.
Dude, it's locked.
Yeah. You never thought of that one. But yeah, it was that, obviously, being on deployments, Iraq, Afghanistan, I saw what it was like not to be free in some instances. I remember police there would actually, I was part of the FOB mayor cell for about, and if anyone doesn't know what that is, that's where you basically are part of the internal operations on the FOB, forward operating base. So we would have these local contractors, bring stuff in, do work or whatever. And some of them would be selling stuff, and the police would actually put up a toll. And before they could go any further, they had to pay off police. I mean, it was ridiculous. And they would come to me. It's like, hey, I'm Staff Sergeant Golden. That's your local politician. I have nothing to do with that,
Yeah.
So, that kind of stayed in my head. It's like, is America that free? And, I think a lot of places are. I don't want to be a judge of all of America. I think we are one of the freest countries in the world. But how free are you? Have you ever exercised your rights? Maybe that's the only way to find out if you're free. And in a lot of ways, maybe we are, maybe we're not.
Well, a lot of people don't know because they've never stretched their rights enough to push it. They'll just do whatever they're told because they want to avoid the problems associated with questioning a cop's authority to do whatever the hell he wants to. But I've always been that way. I can't help it, man.
And I guess that's maybe my look is I love freedom. I love liberty. Especially if anyone notices, there's a few veterans among a lot of the people who audit, and I think a lot of that has to do with, dude, I lived under so many rules, so much. I'm not going to call it oppression. I mean, obviously it wasn't oppression. I was there on my own, I voluntarily served. But, you do have to abide by a lot more strict guidance or strict living when you are in the military. So, that's why when a lot of veterans, when they got out, if you look at the 60s and all that, their thing with freedom was join a rogue biker gang or, a hippie commune or whatever that was, it's before my time. But now we're saying I'm part of society and I'm living in society and I'm going to be free. I demand freedom, and
I put my life on the line for their rights, and I demand to be able to use them.
Right. And like I said, I'm not trying to, I guess if you want to call it veteran card or anything like that, I don't go around trying to, say, hey, service member and all that, look at me. And I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to, because I'm sure a lot of people wonder why I was wondering when I was younger, why a lot of veterans involved in a lot of, civil rights or things that involve liberty and things like that. Why are these rogue biker gangs out there? Why are they all veterans or things like that? And that's where a lot of that comes from, is this lust.
Well, the excitement. I mean, if you're living in a tense situation like World War II and you were on the line, or Vietnam and you were out on the line in the bush, those heightened things that you endure when you come back to a life of fairly calm, maybe boring after that,
Yeah, I think that may have something. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but I guess I'm prepared for tense situations, so maybe that does help prepare me for doing some of this. Maybe I never thought of it that way, but I think you're right. Yeah.
Well, there's one guy I used to work with, and he endured Vietnam, 2 tours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he went back for the second one. I guess because he had to, because he wanted to stay in for enough time to do whatever it was he wanted to do.
Right.
But he said, alas, that second tour, I prayed to God every night, just let me survive this, and I will never complain again. When I get home, I will not complain about everything. And when he got back, he was such a calm guy. Nothing bothered him. Everything was okay. If something came up, he'd just go take care of it. You never heard him bitch or moan or, and he lived up to, from what I can say, he lived up to what he promised. You get me through this and I will never complain again. And I never heard him complain or anything. He just take care of it. But anyway, off on a tangent. Go,
yeah, that's about it for that one.
Well, I think that's, I've heard that described by a lot of the World War II veterans, is that's where the biker stuff came in.
Yeah, that's when they started performing, I think.
Because when they came back, they were used to an intense lifestyle and living in adrenaline, and when they got back, it was pretty boring, and they needed that. It was kind of like PTSD, their way of dealing with it. Let's see here. All right, your first audit. Where was your first audit?
Technically,
that was a long question written down to get to a short answer. I mean, a short question.
Technically, I don't really count it. I did do the Alabama State House, which is right by the Capitol, if you want to get technical. But that was just me, just roaming around or whatever. I really call my first audit the FBI building in Birmingham. That was definitely the first audit I did. Really didn't know the law as well as I do now. I just knew that I was supposed to be free. I was in a free country. I was in a public space. So that would be the very first one, and definitely put a realization of how much our rights can be violated by people who are ignorant of the law and how they can get away with it.
Yeah, and they know it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying all police, and I'll get to that later, but I'm not trying to put a stereotype on everybody or anything like that. I come to conclusions through evidence.
Well, we show it all the time. I don't know if this is where you're going, but we don't have to do that. We let them show it, and it's not hard to find them. That's the problem.
Yes, and like I said, I can only go off my experience, but can I really? There's a lot of others that truly shows that. But, you know, with that being said, I've had good encounters as well. But
I have too.
that was probably the most idiotic statement I have ever heard with that encounter. Now, of course, there was 2 encounters. If you really want to go into it, there was the filming of the FBI building, but there was also the interaction with the Birmingham police as well, and that's the one I'm talking about. Is the interaction with the Birmingham police? You know, where there's a terrorist act, whereas you cannot film federal buildings, when clearly it was established that you can. Homeland Security themselves established that you can in 012-2010.
Yeah.
That's 7 years old now. At that time, it was, let me see.
And even with all these videos out, we still see that all the time.
Right.
Kind of stupid stuff.
Yeah. But that was, that was my very first one.
And in this day and age,
of course.
This day and age has always been here since the founding of this country and before.
Right. In this day and age, I have more protection to do this than I've ever had.
Yeah.
So in this day and age, you should know better than to violate me. How about that, you know?
Yeah, and I'm going to get off on a side tangent here. Part of my thing is, you know, we see it all the time, and they violate the rights, and they try to tell you that, you know, you have to ID or, you know, and other things that they always say.
Color of law.
But then,
on that, they'll use color of law and go, you know.
You know, and a lot of them, even if you report them, make a complaint, or even if you took them to court, they say, well, I didn't know. I didn't understand the law.
And some in the, definitely in the even number federal districts, you know, qualified immunity can kind of just.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what, if there's 2 things. If you're a police officer and you don't know the law, then you're negligent of your duties because you didn't bother to go read it.
Yeah.
And if you do know it and ignoring it, you're negligent in a few other things. But we won't go there with that kind of language.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I have to bring this up, and I'll just say it real quick. With that being said, you know what you're really bad is when you don't know the law that you're actually reading, and I think we both know.
David.
David of News Now, where the police officer actually read the law and still didn't get it. So that says something.
Well, I was at first, I thought the police officer was just trying to pull a fast one by reading it all the way through without the little comma break, you know, to let you know it's a different, you know, it's part 2 here, not part 1. And when you run them together and you run them together, it makes it sound like, and plus he would be expecting the person he's talking to be under stress. And we know David's not going to be stressed out that much, you know, and he knows what he's doing. So I figured, you know, here we got a cop trying to pass this off, this law that he knows better, often use it to scare someone. Well, he didn't realize that David already knows exactly what it is. But David later said that he was pretty sure that cop actually believed that that's what the law was because he couldn't comprehend what he was reading.
Oh, I think he thought it was too. I really, yeah.
Excuse me. Come on, get back up here. All right, so well, hey, where were we? See, what are you so passionate about this? Why? You know something? I either skipped it.
You were right.
Oh, well, it is. That is the next one, the 5th one. Why are you so passionate about it?
Well, because rights are important. They're the foundation of this country. In America, we live in a democratic republic. Democratic describes the republic. In a republic, rights take the forefront. A majority can't take away your rights. A minority cannot take away your rights. As much as these SJWs want to do that, it's no. Be the snowflake all you want to be. But cannot take away rights.
Yeah, well, they sure seem to be getting away with it. That's one of the reasons why we're here.
Exactly. I'm all for if they want to preach what they believe in and all that type of stuff. Say what you want to say. I'm not politically affiliated myself, but I am against any speech that is restricted. You know,
Yeah, even if you don't like it.
You don't like it. I mean, there's stuff I disagree with. You know, and I can't stand it. Some things. But
well, to me, if some of it, if it's too vulgar, I'm not going to listen. I just, go on about my business. But I want to hear dissenting and conflicting.
That's how we learn.
Because that's how you learn. That's how you think. That's like how you get to the next whatever it is you're going towards. Yep. But if you only hear the same thing over and over again, you're never going to find the truth.
Right.
You not find the truth in a lot of things anyway, no matter how much you search. But
you know, a dissenting voice in something, you know, they could be right, could be wrong.
Could be as simple as sitting on the back of the bus, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You know that in that part of the country.
Yeah, I'm where it all started, basically.
That's why I brought that one up.
You know, a good example, for instance, Holocaust denial. I think it's sick that people would deny that. But if you do not give them a platform where you can have debate, then you got those feelings repressed, and you have a group of people repressed, and then that's gonna be subverted. You know, when you have open dialogue and you can actually expose some of this stuff, and you can expose those people, I think that's a good thing.
No, I don't remember what country it was.
Here's the thing: denying people free speech is not going to make them, you know,
it's not going to shut them up.
It's not. Well, you can do that, but you can't do mind control.
Yeah, but it's still not going to shut them up.
Right.
Not in this country.
No. I'm saying there's places that do limit free speech. If you do limit free speech and say you cannot say these things, that's not going to change people's minds. That does not do mind control.
Yeah.
The way you change people's mind is have open dialogue and debate. That's what, you know, that's the whole thing about being in a free country. It's not because you have to agree with everything because it's free speech. No. You know, and that's what a lot of these new breed of people called SJWs need to understand. You know.
Well, I think England was sometime in the last year or two trying to pass a law that, or they may have done it, I don't know, where you can't speak against global warming, man-made global warming. All right, you can get fined for it. Now, I don't know if it ever actually passed, but I think it might have. And
they got laws all over Europe. Germany's got some very restrictive laws.
And I think there was another country, Canada, talking about Holocaust denial.
Right.
You can't talk about the denial. And
Canada and Germany, I know those two. Yeah.
And that's, I don't know why people would put up with that. I think if they tried that here, we would have enough uproar that they would stop. And that's maybe why they haven't done it, because I know that, I don't know if it was the Clintons or one of the other idiots out there in our past. And I consider just about every politician you ever, since I've been alive, is an idiot. You know, so don't put the Democrat Republican crap in there to me. You know, don't point that in my direction, people.
Right.
I think they're all assholes.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are honest to God, good people. I think they're just there for power plays anyway. But anyway, they were trying to put a law through that, you know, you can't talk about negative about global warming. And it's like, that is a way of proving right then and there that it is a bunch of crap, because if you have to pass a law to stop people from talking about it, then there's your proof that it's bullshit.
That's the perception, people. Yeah, exactly. And here's another thing. And I'm not trying to speak for you, but I think I can say this pretty confidently. If me and you had gone through something like the Holocaust or something like that, and we were survivors, here's what I would say, and I think I can speak for you. I wish somebody would deny I went through that.
Yeah.
Please come forward. I wish someone would speak up and deny me. You know, that way I can show them evidence and I can show them things, you know, and that's what it's all about, you know.
Well, I had a long talk with somebody. I'm not going to go too far about that. He's a denier of the Holocaust, and it didn't matter to him what kind of proof you had. It just
right.
It didn't matter.
But at least, you know, someone who may be watching, someone, you know, you're putting the information out there, you know.
Yeah.
You're showing evidence and you're showing these things. So, and that's really what it's about. It's the debate, you know. And I'm not trying to, you know, I'm just using that.
We could do an hour-long show just on that one conversation I had with that guy. But we're not going to. We're going to keep moving forward.
Okay.
Because I could get going on that one, you know. And we're not here about that. We're here about it.
Right.
About you. All right. Here's one for the cop suckers. Do you have anything against cops in general? And you've already answered that before, but go ahead.
Yeah. Not in general. If they don't violate my rights, I ain't got nothing against the cop. Cop comes up to me and doesn't violate my rights, I ain't got no problem. And to be honest, let's just call it like it is. Where does the rubber meet the road? Who has a monopoly on power? It's police. I'm against anybody. I don't care what uniform you wear. I'm against anyone that wants to violate my rights.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you want to get the perception that somehow my channel is all about police or auditors are all about police, no, it's not. I get approached. I don't go up to them or anything like that. I can only speak for myself. I know there's other channels that do approach to some extent and maybe do interfere. That's not me, and that's not the people I associate with. But that's who ultimately seems to show up in the end. And a lot of these, they show up. I don't go to them. They come to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm still, I would love to see the police department go to a 4-year training program, like just like college, 4 years, because that would get rid of a bunch of these ones that are just doing it because they're bullies. They're not going to spend 4 years in college just to go be a bully for the most part. But how about we take a little pause here? I'm going to pause this video. All right. So the next one on the list, and I would let's see what other. Let's say an ordinary tourist was on the sidewalk taking pictures of a statue near a military base, and an officer asked for his ID. Why shouldn't he simply just turn it over?
Now, what officer are you talking about? A police officer or a military?
Either one. And we know why we're asking this, because we get both. When there's a lot of military bases, we've done them, and they fail a lot of times, and on both sides. Sometimes it's the police department that fails. Sometimes it's the military that fails. Sometimes it's both together. And we've seen it all.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If it's MP and you're on public property, you ain't got to tell them nothing.
That's right.
I'll say that right off the bat with full confidence.
And I can back that up. I know somebody since I was a young man, a very young man, that was in the OSI, and he would be the first to tell you that OSI officer has, and none of them have any jurisdiction outside their boundary. And their boundary does not include public property like the public sidewalk, public roadways. Now, I think there is a few exceptions where there's a road been put through and they have control of that road, even though it's outside of their fence line, but very few exceptions there. All right.
And whoever's watching this, be careful with that. Know where your location is.
Do your homework before you go.
Exactly.
No, exactly. When I did that first Randolph one, I knew when he told me that I was on their base. I wasn't. I knew exactly where it was.
A good resource for that is GIS. That's where you can go online, look at the boundaries. Usually, if you
look at county maintenance records, you can look at tax records. You know, sometimes you may have to go to the county
tax office property.
Yeah. And
but you can look, and I remember I got one time, and that line was right with the utility poles.
And the one at Randolph is just in between the power line and the fence line. It's right in between there, and which was about 10 feet away from where I was the first time they told me I was. I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of arguing with it, I'll just step over here. And they still tried. The next one they came out tried to tell me, you're on property. No. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. So as long as you know where you're at and you're on public property, there's nothing they can do. You don't have to say one word to them if you don't want to.
Yeah, but the question, why shouldn't you? That's part of the question. Why shouldn't you just cooperate?
Because maybe I want to invoke my rights. Should I be, is that wrong to invoke my rights? I don't think so.
It is to them, though. That's why this question is because we see the police and the military both come up with the same stupid line. Well, that's suspicious because you won't answer our questions. That makes us even more suspicious.
Invoking your rights.
I am invoking my First Amendment right, my Fourth Amendment right, my Fifth Amendment right, whatever, and that's suspicious. That makes you more suspicious about what I'm doing. That's total bullshit.
Yeah, let them bring that up in court as a defense. Watch what happens.
Yeah, they would never say that in court.
Now, the second part of that is, now this is a tricky one, if it is a police officer. That's at the individual discretion. Me personally, I do live in a quote-unquote stop and identify state. Before I give up my ID, I will not refuse, and I preclude that. That's my approach, is I'm not refusing, but let me ask you a question. Is it reasonable suspicion? Okay, you stop me under reasonable suspicion. And if you want to get technical, reasonable, articulable suspicion under Terry v. Ohio, but for some reason in the Alabama code.
It covers every state.
Yeah, exactly. That does cover every state. And that was the Supreme Court. No, really.
That's right.
But, do you have suspicion that a crime is afoot? I'm just filming. I haven't done anything outside of filming. So what suspicion do you have that a crime is afoot? You know, and I try to preclude that or whatever. Sometimes it doesn't work. That is at your discretion. Be careful, and especially in stop and ID states. You got to be very careful. I can't give legal advice. That's up to the individual. My view on it is filming in and of itself, since it's been ruled by federal circuit courts, pretty specific. As long as you're in a place where you're allowed to be and you're filming and you're doing nothing but that, how is that reasonable suspicion that a crime is afoot?
And if you don't exercise your rights, you're going to lose them, right? How many great people have quoted that one?
Right.
And I didn't quote it, paraphrase, but.
Right. So, yeah, I don't see why you should show ID. I totally disagree with having to show ID just for filming in and of itself.
Well, and any good lawyer will tell you, do not answer questions.
Right.
Don't even that's it. Don't answer questions. The Supreme Court has even said, don't talk to the cops.
Yes.
A good judge will even tell you don't talk to it.
And that's another thing to be aware of.
I haven't met a good judge lately, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. You're doing nothing wrong by not answering questions.
That's right. And the smartest thing to do is not answer questions, because answering questions is, if you've got a good cop, it may help you, but you never know. Like they like, I don't know who you are. Right? So
I don't know who you are.
Every police officer, you have to defend yourself and protect yourself from the possibility that they're not one of the good ones. All right? And that anything you say might be twisted to use against you. So shut up, and shut up some more.
Not only that,
I stole that one.
I've heard it where your tone of voice, boisterous. That is a code in some areas. You're being boisterous.
Oh, you're being too nice.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, yeah. When you like,
for suspicion of a crime. Yes.
You're coming up, and let's say I walk up to your car, and you're being all friendly and and smiling and laughing. It said he's hiding something.
Right.
He's trying to hide something. That's suspicious behavior.
Right.
And that one I think even came up, and that can get you shot. Because now they're scared.
Every encounter is, whatever. I mean, I get that. That's why I'm not a cop. That's something you have to deal with as a police officer. That's just the way.
I'm human, and I know I'm human, and I had friends that tried to get me to be a police officer. I had friends that were, took me on for rides with them and tried to convince me to be a police officer. And I know that I could screw up somebody's life by one mistake. And if you're a police officer and say you arrest somebody and then you find out you're wrong or you figure out you're wrong, well, you can't go and tell the DA, well, we got to kick this guy loose because I was wrong. Because then you lose credibility and they use it against you.
Right.
They don't give you that option. Then they'll say, well, now they're going to sue us because you admitted you were wrong.
The more power you have, the greater the responsibility.
And I would not want that on my conscience, that I fucked up somebody's life like they did to me for a while. You know, they really screwed my life over for a while. And anyway, let's move on.